Hello, I'm Mark Frisconi, and welcome to Set Chat Live. This is a weekly live stream where we discuss the candidacy of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running to become President of the United States in 2024. The ensuing conversations are the selected best of our daily discussions that are held in our Discord server over the past week. If you would like to be on the live panel, please join our daily chat on discord.gg/Team Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the son of former U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy and the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. In his announcement to run, he said that during this campaign and during my administration, my objective will be to make as many Americans as possible forget that they are Republicans or Democrats and remember that they are Americans. Mr. Kennedy is running with a focus on honest government, peace, and economic revitalization. Also strongly committed to civil liberties, Mr. Kennedy emphasizes the importance of an uncaptured government that fosters and protects freedom of speech. So we are here today to exercise that freedom to discuss what is true about this remarkable man. Welcome, viewers and guests, to this next edition of Set Chat Live. And let me bring on some of our guests. Welcome today. We've got Rochelle with us, and we've got Sophia is with us. And let me start our screen share right off the bat. I'll bring that in here. Okay, so welcome. Good morning, everybody. Rochelle and Sophia, glad to have you here. Sophia, can you hear us? Is your mic working okay?
Yes, hello. Good morning. I'm trying to make myself visible here. Only my background is showing. I don't know why.
Well, it's a good background, so thank you for at least having that.
That's nice.
Awesome.
It's from one of our Facebook, like our Facebook page connected to the groups. But yes. I want to show myself. I just don't know why it's not showing me.
Well, look at the bottom of the screen. There's a stop video button, and there's a little thing you can click up there, and then there you go. Maybe it looks like you got something going. Hopefully. No, it's all black now.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird.
Okay. Well, I'll let you try to figure that out, but yes. At least we can hear from you. That's good.
Mark, I have a question. I have a special guest that I would like to bring on, but she does need a link. Anna Busser, Anna Eric, both names are correct. Anna Busser Eric, and
your mom. She can join by the same link you joined on.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know that. So she would come on. She's been very active.
I'd like to chat with Anna. Yeah, Anna's been around. Her and I have worked together on a ton of different things. It would be fun to have her on. Please.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So while we're waiting for Anna, though, I want to jump right into the top story here. Fresh out this morning, there's news of an attack in Israel against Israel, and I've got a clip up here. And this is just breaking news. And so let's take a look at it. There's a lot of details. It's kind of fuzzy. Of course, it's brand, this just happened in the last few hours. At least 100 people in Israel have been confirmed killed, with hundreds others being treated in hospitals. There's 1,000 injuries, I think that they said. There are reports of civilians and Israeli soldiers who have been captured, are being held hostage. There's quite a bit going on. I know it's kind of all over the place. Rochelle, have you had a chance to kind of hear any of the news on this yet?
I have heard just about this. I think 2 minutes before we went live, Kennedy released a new tweet on it. It's a pretty lengthy tweet, and I didn't really get to read it yet. But basically saying that we should support Israel in whatever capacity. Yeah.
Well, actually, I have that handy. So there was a statement from the Kennedy campaign on this very topic, and that came out this morning. And let me go ahead and just quote the part. This ignominious, unprovoked, and barbaric attack on Israel must be met with world condemnation and unequivocal support for the Jewish state's right to self-defense. We must provide Israel with whatever it needs to defend itself now. As president, I will make sure that our policy is unambiguous so that enemies of Israel will think long and hard before attempting aggression of any kind. I applaud the strong statements of support from the Biden White House for Israel in her hour of need. However, the scale of these attacks means it is likely that Israel will need to wage a sustained military campaign to protect its citizens. Statements of support are fine, but we must follow through with unwavering, resolute, and practical action. America must stand by our ally throughout the operation and beyond as it exercises its sovereign right to self-defense. So that's a pretty strong statement. And I think not
Very strong.
at all in conflict with Mr. Kennedy's stated position in support of Israel that he's had all along, that he has been criticized for. I think here some of the actions that have taken place might kind of prove some of his positions correct. Unfortunately.
Right. I do think that Israel is an issue that kind of divided the supporters of Kennedy's supporters. But you're right. His statement here is totally in line with what he's been saying.
Yeah, so the whole thing, because in recent years, I mean, I'm one too. I have a sympathy for the folks, of Palestine. There's certainly some humanitarian issues that need to be addressed there. There's some concerns over some of the increasingly more right wing aspects of the Israeli government. That some things that we would like to maybe not go in that direction. And so hopefully our involvement with Israel would tend to we can use that as a way to help them shape policy, not to be too involved in another country's politics. We don't like that when people do it to us. But I think the thing is that I've been Israel's we've been a supporter of Israel for a long time, and it is kind of like the third rail of American politics too, to not support Israel. And I don't see Mr. Kennedy's support as just being a political ploy. I think it's heartfelt for him. I do think he believes in their right to exist as a country, and that our oath to them to support them is important and something that we should protect or enforce.
Yeah, I will definitely be educating myself when we get off the chat. I'm wondering what led up to this in the past couple of days, if tensions were rising in any way, or.
Well, yeah. Well, so going back to the article too, I mean, it's there's just no holding back here. See the statement in full here. So this morning, Hamas launched a murderous surprise attack against the state of Israel and its citizens. We've been at it since early morning. The enemy will pay a price that he has never known. In the meantime, I will call on the citizens of Israel to strictly obey the instructions of the army and instructions of Home Command. And now what's also going on is there was a statement from Hamas saying that you don't know how we're going to respond if you respond. So there's a lot of that going back and forth. Do we have Sophia back? Sophia, are you here again? Video? Maybe no.
I am. It's tech going crazy.
All right. Okay.
I'm here though.
All right. So what do you do? You have any comments about this breaking headline?
I actually don't know. Not right now.
Okay. All right. So I'm
trying to figure it out myself.
Well, so so what we're going to do then is we're going to kind of add some additional context to this, because of course Mr. Kennedy has kind of been. There was a couple of tweets that came out this week. Excuse me. A couple of tweets that came out this week, and I'm going to share this tab here, or a tweet and a couple of pieces of information. Mr. Kennedy, had earlier this week had asked, "What's America's number one priority?" Mitch McConnell says it is to provide assistance to the Ukrainians. Is that true, or is it only the priority of the Democratic and Republican Beltway elites? And so it's a short video. Let's give it a listen.
Providing assistance for the Ukrainians to defeat the Russians, that's the number one priority for the United States right now, according to most Republicans.
Okay, so the reason why I wanted to kind of tie that in is, all right, so a couple of things, right? We've got it looks like we're going to avert it. Pending government shutdown, but we made sure that the war in Ukraine was getting funded. Now, this war in Ukraine that we have been nobody really wants. It really hasn't. It doesn't. Nothing good has really come out of it yet, right? No great thing. But what the thing that has come out of it is a lot of our weaponry has been depleted, right? So what's happening is now we can't produce enough weapons to support like infantry, so we have to send them long range weapons. And so we're depleting like warehouses full of weaponry and ability to reproduce that weaponry. And we have a war, we have an actual real war, or something that really needs to be taken care of with Israel.
Right.
And so we're just spent. We're tired. We're spent. We're tired of war. so there, and Nancy, one of ours folks here, did a great analysis on this. Is that if you're an enemy and you're looking to start another war to make America even weaker than what it already is, wow, wouldn't this be the thing? And so that it's possible.
I mean,
but
yeah,
Well,
we put ourselves in a pretty vulnerable position.
well, the money we'll have to print to support this effort, on top of the money we did, what 120 billion that we spent in a war that we didn't need to be in, and all the equipment that we blew up there. I mean, the 120 we sent was just money we appropriated. That doesn't include the equipment we sent. In addition, stuff we had sitting around in National Guard lots around the country. Stuff.
I wanted to I just quickly fact check this statement via Google. We'll see. Atlantic Council, I guess, is the source. And it says that 75, as of August, 75% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans polled support our effort in Ukraine.
Which poll is that?
It was put out by AtlanticCouncil.org.
I'm so skeptical about polls.
I know.
Well, so by Democrats and Republicans, did they poll specifically party people? Because if that's, I can believe that, because people who are following those two parties are, those are the parties of war.
It was the Reagan Foundation.
Yeah.
What I'm so tired of is always hearing certain politicians talk about the priorities of America, and the only one I really significantly hear about, and then the new candidates, but specifically Bobby talking about, is we really need to start sweeping in front of our front door. Like, we need to take care of our house. I'm talking about America, and it's always about other countries, and that's what Bobby is saying. What brought us and what created this whole mess is mingling in other affairs around the world, and we're number one doing that. And we're still, every time I see this, it's another huge big red flag. And like, when do we get it? I mean, we get it, but when does America collectively get it that this is not the solution? And I'm always dumbfounded when I read this, and like, can just swipe left or something. Can we come back to business? And I think that's what really got so many people excited about, the former president, because he said, let's focus on America. And you can think whatever you want, but that's what it has to be. And that's what Bobby is saying as well. We need to focus on our country and all these endless wars and funding, and then war, funding, war, funding, war. And then we end up in this miserable state where we have an impoverished country. And I don't know, I keep on talking to Germans, and they keep on comparing Germany to America. And like, you cannot do that. Germany is way ahead of the game when it comes to having a secure and stable country, even though it's suffered a lot. And basically what we're seeing now with all of these refugees coming in, or just generally all the people coming over the border, just happened to Germany. The dark number is probably somewhere between 10 to 15 million. And that's a lot if you're talking about a country that only has 83 million people. And so still, and you're talking about America, who has already suffered so much. And then are we really we really have to talk about Ukraine?
Well, that's my question is, like, while we're busy fighting these wars that we don't need to be fighting around the world, expending our inheritance and printing trillions of dollars that cause inflationary pressures on our economy. And then when a real thing comes up that we need to be ready for it and we need to be smart about, we're at our lowest point economically, and our military is expended. It was almost a traitorous action to put us in this position of vulnerability and weakness, because of the war in Ukraine was not necessary. It did not advance our national interests, and we had no business being there. Everybody knows that. I mean, the people that support it, you have to support it to be a party person. You can't be in that party unless you say, yeah, I'm for the war. Let's go to brunch. I mean, that's just the way it is. And those people are they're irredeemable. You're never going to change their minds.
Hi, Anna. Anna Eric is here.
Yeah, I was going to say, hi, Anna. Nice to see you.
I didn't know I could get on. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I agree with, I forget what your name is.
Rochelle?
Rochelle?
I'm Rochelle.
I'm really interested in what led up to this thing in Israel, because things don't come from nothing.
And you can't surprise Israel with all of their sophisticated intelligence services. They're probably the most sophisticated in the world. Don't tell me you can go surprise them like this.
Yeah, I just know I participated in an event that my cousin actually organized in Philadelphia, of all places. It was a meeting of the people of Palestine and Israel getting them together, and it was sponsored by churches and synagogues and so on and so forth. And the people themselves do not want war. So, I just wonder what's going on at this point, because we're talking about, well, let's get out of the Ukraine, but let's go into Israel, or into Palestine.
I'm afraid that
this is a very controversial subject, so I don't really want to say what I think, but
Well, and actually, I do have another video, as part of this conversation. So the campaign has been releasing, stuff this week, and actually, we'll talk a little bit about this later. But this week was a little bit slow. We didn't get treated to as much campaign content as we like to enjoy. Of course, what we do here, or what we do in Discord, is every day, Monday through Friday, at 7 p.m. Central. We have a conversation in the server, and we talk about whatever's been released from the campaign for the previous 24 hours, and we pick what we like best out of that day, and we bring that forward into this chat, the SAT chat. So our best conversations, we bring them here, and so that's kind of how we build this. And so if you want to be part of those daily conversations, definitely. Oh, there's Sophia. We got your picture working. Very nice. All right. You can join us in the Discord server, discord.gg/Team Kennedy. And then, we want to build up an ability for more people in Facebook to also participate in this. And rather than just listen to us talk about it once a week, we'd like to figure out a way to get you guys involved in the conversation a little bit more too. I know we've got a chat going on. We've not been good about, keeping track of those chats just because there's so many of them, because we're streaming into a lot of groups right now. We're streaming into more than 15 groups, Facebook groups, and they're all fairly large. And so some of the chats really are very active. They're fun to watch and listen to. But anyway, I got a little digression there. Let's move on. So the campaign has been releasing content this week, and this is a kind of a clip from an interview he did with Piers Morgan. It's about peace. And so as we transition, we're talking about war. We also want to, Mr. Kennedy is asking us again to think about what do we want to be as a country. I mean, is war our primary, economic driver, or are other things possible for us? And let's give this a listen. I am sharing this tab. Nope, let's share the right tab.
9 years old when your uncle John F. Kennedy was president was assassinated. You were 14 when your father, who was tipped to be, and I'm sure he would have been, one of the great presidents if he'd lived. You were 14 when your father died. You had to be one of the pallbearers there. What impact do you think that had on you, and what impact has it had on you now as a politician, now running for president?
I think it had an impact on the world. I think my father and uncle were fighting against this emergence of a military-industrial complex, and their deaths really marked a fork in the road for our country and for the rest of the world, where we started down this road towards corporatism, what I call the corrupt merger of state and corporate power that is driven by large industries like pharmaceutical, oil and coal industries, the pesticide industries. But the spear tip, of course, is what Eisenhower warned us about 4 days before my uncle took office, which was the rise of the military-industrial complex, which has turned America into a warfare state. We spent $8 trillion on wars since the war in Iraq, and we've got nothing in return.
If you like this video and you want to help me become president of the United States, go to Kennedy24.com and donate now.
A lot of money to spend and get nothing in return, and here we are at this depleted state where we really do need our military, and we're just not at the strength we should be. And so,
this is such a powerful clip to share with people, because he addresses a lot of things that people wonder about him. I mean, it covers the pharmaceutical, his family and his feelings about that. I like that, I guess I thought it was noteworthy that when he's asked, how did this affect you? He pivots to, how did it affect our country and our world? Just very Yeah.
Well, the part where he was, the pallbearer at his own father's funeral. Not many people would have the ability to come back from that, and then to come back and work to save the entire country. Very powerful, very powerful. But he does ask the question. What do we want to be? I mean, a smart person would have not put us in a position that we are right now. We probably would have been able to fend off the attack on Israel. We would have maybe had military capability, so we could have stopped them from doing that. Rather than what we have right now with all these trillions of expenditures and all this debt that we have and the inflationary pressure on our economy is we've got boats that are like the Gerald Ford. $12 billion build a boat. A single hypersonic missile will make that a smoldering heap at the bottom of the ocean. And that was just a colossal. I mean, we don't fight World War II anymore, and yet that's the kind of equipment we buy. But we can't stop the simplest of things. So it's disappointing, but I really I get the sense Mr. Kennedy will help sort that all out. Any comments on those before we move on to our next topics? All right. Well, let's go on and move something a little less warlike. So there was the FEC deadline that came up. There was a lot of a lot of videos coming out. There was a number of ways for folks to help contribute, and so Mr. Kennedy had made a promise ahead of time that if they met their goal, which was $5 million, that he would jump in the lake, because everyone kept telling him to go jump in the lake whenever he asked them to be fair, and so it's just kind of an interesting thing. And so they released this video. Let's take a look. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not. I share the video. Wrong button. There we go.
You guys ready?
Look. Okay, that was awesome. It scares the crap out of me every time I watch it, because it's gonna hit a turtle or something on the way down.
Yeah, he released a teaser on that where he didn't hit the water yet, and I was like, well,
initially,
he made it.
Yeah, so they're looking to release.
Made it to release the teaser.
So I don't know. Did anybody hear yet? I mean, I know it takes a few days to process everything and then the reports to come up, but I don't know. Is it what?
I checked this morning, and it's not up yet.
Okay.
No results.
But we gotta believe we made it. And actually, so we're kind of leading up to something, his historic speech on Monday. Maybe that there'll be something kind of historic mentioned in that speech about how well they did fundraising. I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. But yeah, so it's good, and actually, so I want to stop and kind of take a moment too for folks that have not went to Kennedy24.com and created an account there. You should go there, log in, save your password, all of that, and then once you do, you can start fundraising for Mr. Kennedy, and you can start recruiting other people to help join the movement, and so that Kennedy24.com, and just create an account, a little red button in the upper right-hand corner. And once you do that, you'll actually be able to create quite a nice little profile, a little picture of yourself, maybe a comment like how much you like Mr. Kennedy's policies or whatever. And then you get a couple of links that you get to share with your friends and family and across all your social media, because that's really what we need to do. Mainstream media is not giving Mr. Kennedy a fair shake. And so we need to make sure people, it can just give a few minutes to see stuff like how cool of a guy he is. I mean, you watch that, and I mean, when was the last time we had a president that was actually could physically jump off a rock into a lake like that? I mean, that's pretty amazing. And then,
Did we ever?
Huh?
I said, have we ever? Was there any precedent for this?
Well, Ford, I mentioned his boat, but he actually was an athlete at one point. He was a little bit clumsier later in life. I remember Chevy Chase making a lot of fun of him about that, but he was actually a pretty athletic guy. I don't know. Obama was pretty athletic too, I think, right?
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to something else. So, we've got a big group here in Discord. A lot of folks. Andrew's one of our organizers here. He's actually got hooked up. You guys might have remembered him. He did a lot of great kind of analysis for us in our first couple of podcasts. He hasn't been around for a while. He's busy knocking on doors, making phone calls, working in the state of Michigan, which Mr. Kennedy's working very, very hard to try and win. I mean, he's not, he's doing the retail politics out there like he said he would. And so on the right there, that's Andrew and his significant other on the left, and Mr. Kennedy, of course, in the middle. And so I'm impressed. Anytime anybody.
I can't see the picture. Are you showing?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask where.
Oh, see, that's why we got to work on the production.
Nice.
I need somebody. Hey,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
share the tab. So yeah, that's Andrew on the right, and then Andrew's significant other. I don't know her name. Sorry. On the left, and then Mr. Kennedy in the middle. And so that's pretty cool. I mean, he is very, very fond, a very affectionate guy when people run into him. So they get some, pretty.
It's
pretty
nice
good
to
picture.
see our people in the wild.
Yeah. So
Andrew
we
must
got
be very tall.
well, that's what's fun about our group. So we're across the entire country, and so whenever Mr. Kennedy shows up someplace, we can send a little group out there and get some photos and people to meet him and stuff. And so we're really kind of a nationally connected community. It's really a lot of fun. I know Discord's a little bit, kind of hard to learn at first, but it's really worth the effort if you give it a chance. I keep plugging it. Facebook is really cool too. So.
I had an aha moment just a few days ago where I was thinking about Kennedy and his selfies, and how much emphasis he's putting on taking the time to make selfies with everybody that comes to his meetings. Like he was in Brooklyn and there were 900 people, and he says, "I'm staying here until I have a selfie with everybody." And I was thinking, it's almost like he is wanting people to know that he is there for every single individual in the country. And I can just imagine him, a year from now, come November 2024, that he will have done a selfie with a significant number of Americans. It's kind of an exciting idea.
Well, so I think that's and I'm just going to digress again a little bit, but I think that's Kennedy's strength is that his ability to connect with people is just amazing. You listen to him, you there's a part of you, whatever it is, and I bring this up a lot. Rochelle, is an artist. She connects with him, and I love it. She says, "This guy's an artist. I'm an analyst. I listen to him talk. This guy's an analyst." I mean, and a Mexican speaker hearing him speak in Mexican says, "This guy, he must be a native." I mean, everyone connects with him no matter what they hear from him. It's an amazing, amazing talent that he has. Or
Rochelle, we need to connect. The picture actually behind me is connected to our page, which is calling in all artists, designers, musicians, people. So we should.
Yeah, I should use Facebook more.
Yes.
Well,
Let's chat.
Make sure we do. We'll take some time for some announcements for you at the end, or toward the end here, Sophia. You do have some events coming up that we'd like to talk about, so we'll make sure we don't forget that before we're done here today.
Yes.
All right. So another announcement that we're seeing. Let me share this tab instead. Try to remember to do that. There's a campaign announcement. More work in Michigan. The first event's already long past, but this is still something you can do today if you're in Michigan. Lansing voter meet and greet at Doubletree by Hilton Lansing in Lansing, Michigan. I was at Lansing one time. I drove down there. I was in the Coast Guard stationed up in Charlevoix, and I drove down to Lansing for a weekend one time. It's nice. I love Michigan. Beautiful state. 2 p.m. setup, I think, but it starts 3 to 5 Eastern. So
what is this today?
It's today. Yeah.
Nice.
Voter meet and greet in Lansing, Michigan. So it's today. If you're in Michigan, anywhere near Lansing, here's your opportunity. Go ahead, Sophia.
I just quickly wanted to mention any events that any of you watching are going to set up with Kennedy24.com campaign for meet and greets. If you'd like to have us promote that in the groups that we have on Facebook, then just send one of our admins or moderators a message, and we can set it up as an event with you and expose it to all of the supporters we have. And you might just connect with more supporters, which I know this is the most important thing is, I just saw a message here. Come on, Oklahomans. Why am I the only one here week after week? I'm like, this is what we want. We really were here. Mark, Rochelle, my mother, Anna, myself, we're all here to help you connect with people that you haven't connected with, just to reinforce your team. So please don't be shy and contact us.
Absolutely. It would be a shame to have a Kennedy supporter on the other side of town that you don't even know about, and you're missing opportunities to reach out. So
And well, that's was my motivation. I was trying to think today, like, when did Mr. Kennedy announce? I could have looked this up, but there's an internet. Anybody remember when did he announce in Boston his announcement speech? What month that was?
19, was it? I keep on forgetting. April. I think.
April 19th.
Yeah, April, because it was early spring, and I remember, and as the minute I heard, I signed up right away, and signed up the campaign site and said, waiting for somebody to call me, and and they didn't for a few weeks, and so then it's, oh God, I got to go find out, and there was just such a need to want to go connect, and so that's what's really motivated me, and so when I went out looking, I found Sophia and her mom, and I got to work with them on building some Facebook presence for Mr. Kennedy. Now we've got tens of thousands of people who are connected. And it's just so when people go look, they go, well, I love this Kennedy guy I just heard about. Where and they go to Facebook and they can find us, and they can find other people, and then they can find the resources, ways to get a hold of the campaign, and then boom, it just opens all the doors up for them. And then we just have like Discord. I got all kinds of content to look at, and that kind of thing. So that was my motivation. I wanted to make sure people didn't had that opportunity, because I found it kind of hard. I was like at first, because there wasn't much out there, right? And so I want to make sure that when new people, and they will, like maybe after this big announcement, we might see a huge influx, and we'll need to have places for them to go find Mr.
Yeah,
Kennedy.
when I got involved, there were no state groups at all, maybe
Yeah.
one or two.
Great job
And,
building all those too, Anna.
You were up to 1,000 something
Yeah.
members,
Yeah.
Facebook group members in Minnesota.
Just the other day, just crossed 1,000 members. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Congratulations! That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
big.
it grows on its own. I can't take a lot of credit for it. I mean, once you get to a certain point, it's just, and then good activity, giving the group good content so that they know it's an active group. But yeah, I love groups with Kennedy people in it too. I've been kind of around social media for a while. I like Discord because I kind of played a lot of video games in my past, and but honest to goodness, people who support Mr. We got a Discord server, 750 people in there now. It's a pretty good size. We're almost being listed in the national thing. We haven't had any discipline problems with any. I haven't had to boot anybody or ban anybody or mute anybody. I mean, it's honest to goodness, it's the most reasonable community you'd ever want to be a member of.
It's so amazing, and if you think about all the diverse people coming from different directions, be they independents, liberals, Republicans, and it's all peaceful.
Yeah, well, it's fun too.
Fighting, yeah. We're told that we. I don't know if we're as different as we're told we are.
We're not.
It's kind
And
of
people
what I
are
told
really
you.
excited to find out that they can like their neighbor again, because we're like, oh, I was a Trump supporter, or I was a this supporter, and everybody's like, yeah, cool. We're fine with each other. We're tired of picking on each other. There's I don't know, 300 some million people in America, and there's 536 people who are elected federal roles. That's the group we need to be mad at, not each other, right? So. All right, so we've kind of been leading up to this. Let's share this tab, and this is all right. This is something that's been out for a bit, but this is the most recent short clip. Let's on the announcement coming Monday, the historic announcement coming up Monday.
Hey, everybody, I want to extend to you a personal invitation to join me at a special campaign event on October 9th in Philadelphia. This is one that you won't want to miss.
God, he's got that. But every once in a while, you get that little flash in his eye of something, and there's.
Yeah, he's right. I don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
But I'm in Pittsburgh, so I've been it would be a 5-hour drive, and I've been going back and forth. But
We'll hold the fort down here where we are, Rochelle. We'll just help people. Like we could. Oh, we should. Mark, you were mentioning that live streaming on Monday.
Yes. Yeah. We'll go live. Yep. Yeah, and so of course, Sophia and I know you guys are welcome to join us, and if you got some other folks.
Anna's going actually.
Oh, good. Well, there's less discussion on those types of live streams. Of course, we don't want to talk over the top of Mr. Kennedy ever on anything.
Yeah.
But, so it's just more as a service to folks so that they can watch the live stream with other supporters, and there'll be an associated chat that they can get into and kind of see what everybody else thinks. It's a lot more fun that way. Like people seem to enjoy that anyway. But yeah, so the historic announcement, actually, that was something. So we talked about it this week, like all the different things. So it's my understanding right now that the only source for the idea that it's a possible third party transition is an unnamed source from the campaign, one unnamed source that everybody else is reporting off of. Is that correct? Or,
Talking with Mediaite.
pardon me?
Talking with Mediaite.
Right. That was the first publication, right? Or the
And
news.
everybody refers to that.
Yeah, so there was one report of a unnamed person close to the campaign, not even on the campaign, right? And so so that's why I wanted to open up, because we're all talking about it. I personally, I've been kind of expecting it. When Mr. Kennedy said at first, he said, I only have a plan A, and that's run for president of the United States. I knew exactly what he meant. He wasn't going to be deterred by a crooked Democratic Party. And I don't, we've talked about this kind of in our group. Is this maybe more of a, kind of a power move, to kind of get the Democrats to wake up and say, you know what, we can't afford to lose a Kennedy, because that might be like the death knell to our party to lose the name that built the party, kind of thing. Is this a pressure tactic on them, to finally wake up at the last minute? I don't know if they're capable of it. They are so captured.
Well, the most exciting thing is that he's announcing this before the 14th. And everybody's been waiting for the 14th, like, oh, the DNC is going to make a move. But I just think you're right, because him doing this before the 14th is a power move. The question is for what? We know what's going to happen. It's so exciting.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's consider the various options, right? So, I mean, I see, I've always been kind of predicting a little bit of a move towards the Libertarian Party. I could see a lot of affection kind of going back and forth there. Although some folks are kind of, that might not be a great move, because there's people who are really kind of scared of that, that label libertarian. There's some things that, there's extremes on in every party. They have, both ends. And so some of the extreme libertarians maybe have said things that scare folks a little bit. And so, that's one angle. The other one is just go out and do independent. And we're not sure if, we have the time to do that. I mean, there's so many petitions and things that need to be done, 50 state parties, each one different. Any comments on that? What do you guys think?
I would.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's the financial aspect, and that is, if you go just plain old independent, and you have to get on the ballot access in every state, then that's going to use up a lot of money. And I think money has been an issue the whole time. I mean, 1/3 of the budget is already going to protecting Mr. Kennedy. So I think it makes sense to go with a party that already has ballot access, if that's what he's going to do.
Well, and then it's something we had talked about too, like who actually, if there is another party who has ballot access right now. I think Cornell had just jumped the Greens. He's not, so they're looking for somebody, but they don't have access. But I think there's some talk that maybe they're still kind of supporting him, but they're going to let him. I don't know what's going on there, but they don't necessarily have the full ballot access. You could probably win an election if you got the right states with them. But there is a little bit of a handicap if you're to run with them. The other is the Libertarians. They actually do have 50 state ballot access. So that would be a super easy way to go. Of course, then you've got no party affiliations with Congress or Senate. And so then, you're just fighting from the executive. And so we'll see, like what kind of coattails. That's actually another issue too, is like what kind of coattails, depending on what party he goes with, will he get, so that he's got some folks he can work with in Congress.
What about a really crazy idea? Has that been just talked about yet, of him teaming up with the Republican Party?
I haven't thought about that at all. But would that be historic though? I mean, it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, the
resources
Republicans
are
and
there.
Democrats forming together. I don't know. That might be historic.
I don't know what that would do. That just came to me recently, in a certain context, and it just hit me like a bullet. And I'm like, nobody's thinking about that. But what if?
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part of it right now is, we don't know. We don't have any inside information, so we can just kind of guess. And that's really what, they haven't really corrected a lot of the guessing that's been going on out there. So I think, they must want it or not mind it anyway.
Sophia, I don't know why that just never crossed my mind until you said it. That would blow me away. But anything's possible. You're right.
And at this point, it's just about getting him into leadership position. And I'm pretty psychic. I have a strong feeling. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm not here to disrupt. I'm really here to like support, heal the divide. But my feeling tells me that the energy, Trump's energy, is as a person. It's almost like he's blown his energy into what he's already done. I don't feel like there's a lot more power coming from him personally. He's being attacked on so many levels, and I think almost like he's holding his position for the right person to come along. In my opinion, obviously it's Bobby, and I know that there's so many Trump supporters who would love to see both of them team up, and really appreciate Kennedy. I just think that's so fascinating, because I think what's the only other party that has as many resources, or, you know, close to the Democratic Party is the Republican Party. And at this point, it's up to us people to step behind him. And I don't want to look at these parties too much. I'm really not interested in them. I've never believed in any of these parties so far in the time I've been able to vote, because I believe in the people and not the parties. The parties are exactly what would have. They're so corrupted. So the Republican Party, obviously, but obviously the DNC, the DNC is in between him and taking on the leadership role. So the next powerful party would be the Republican Party, but I don't think anybody really is talking about this. But why not?
Well, yeah, it's a reasonable, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know any more than you do. So that could be, and it's good. It could be a combination of things. So, I mean, it could be like a weird, everyone just, falling together saying, Trump and Vivek and everybody else saying, we're just all banding together. We're going to be one big happy team. And, we're just going to crush, whatever exists right now. We're just going to come in and we're going to figure this stuff out. Because Trump, when he went into office, he had some, that's why people supported him. He had the idea that he was going to, decorporatize the federal bureaucracy, but he, just did not follow through on it for whatever reason. I think Kennedy will, and I don't know if he's someone's running mate or, appointment that he'll have as much ability to do that. That might be frustrated, but after suing the federal government for all these years, he certainly knows, it's the thing I like best is he's going to be able to fix it all.
Well, the one really important thing for me is when I think about how he's going to move forward is he going to be a hermit crab? Does he have to go into basically the way our political system is set up? You'd think he has to go into a setup that will allow him to follow up on all of the regulations we have. But in my opinion, I don't really believe that all our regulations are supporting us, the people, right now. So if we're thinking about, we're still conditioned into falling in line with what's been set up. But the setup, I feel, is crumbling. It's not sustainable. It's not working. So what does that mean? Do we just follow him as a person and say, you know what, he's not going to get my vote, he's going to get my voice? Because the vote is not working right now, not in my opinion. And I know many people will not like hearing this, but I've done too much research. I remember after the election, watching the guy from Philadelphia. I keep forgetting his name. He has an Italian name. Maybe my mother remembers his name. He's Doug Mastriotto. He was the first one to set up a panel to investigate the election process, and so many people came forward and were sharing what they witnessed in the election. And there's so much proof out there of what has happened. So I'd like to see some proof that what we're following now as the electoral process and the parties makes sense. Where does it make sense? To me, it does not make sense. What makes sense is Bobby.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I think, in his mind, I think, he has a plan to win within the process and trust it to the extent that, he feels that he can run and win within it. And again, that I think, will be addressed in this historic announcement Monday. I'm so excited. I go to bed every night. I look forward to. I can't wait. I can't wait for Monday to come. Just because I think whatever it's going to be, it's going to add some momentum to a campaign that I just love following and supporting, and so I can't wait to hear what he's got going on. All right. Any other comments? Are you guys ready to move on to our next topic? We're doing good on time here.
Ready to rock and roll.
All righty. So let's show this one. Okay, so there was this came out yesterday. Mr. Kennedy's support of some strikers, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy today joined the United Auto Workers picket line at the GM Processing Center in Schwartz Creek, Michigan. Kennedy called on American automakers at General Motors and Stellantis, I hope I said that right, to come to terms and settle with United Auto Workers, whose strike is against two of the big three manufacturers, is 3 weeks old. Negotiations with Ford, the other major player in the American automotive industry, have been much more productive. So he's giving Ford a little pat on the back, but and there's some details about what's at stake here. But I'm an old union guy. I spent 25 years as a shop steward. I worked as a officer in our local Labor's International, and so to see Mr. Kennedy on the picket line warms my heart. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm not surprised that he's supporting them. Happy.
Yeah. Well, it's a middle class that builds this country and where the wealth comes from. And when you recirculate that wealth into the middle class, it's where the country is at, most healthy. Right now we're in this, the top 1% owns so much and the rest of us are scrambling for, very little.
Again, he's supporting the people. It's just so in his nature, in his lineage, in ancestral lineage, it's putting himself behind the people. And there again, I love to compare this to what I experienced in Europe when I was living there, specifically in Germany, where the people have so many more rights than we do as Americans. And that's why we have to fight so much, because we don't have them naturally given. We really have to fight for everything, except for, in the Constitution, we're obviously protected, but just for some reason, we're not very protected as employees. You can be fired overnight. That can't happen in Germany. You just can't. They're much more careful. You can't just be kicked out of the house if you're renting it or an apartment. It's just you have much more protections. It's like the safety net is much more stable. And I think that's why Americans are much more aggressive and much more independent and self-confident as well. You have to be that. But then the downside is, and it also weakens a society if you're at all times, you're aware that you might have to go into fight or flight mode if something happens, because nobody's there to save you but you. So, him putting himself behind the people is natural. It's the evolution, I think, where we have to head as Americans. As a culture is understanding how can we secure the Americans so that we feel safer. We have a more stable economy. We have more production in the country. We have a government who's actually standing behind us. How destabilizing is it? Imagine if you have children in a family and the parents don't stand behind the children. That's basically in our core how we're feeling as Americans. We know our parents are not in this for us right now. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and he does feel like that. He feels like that fatherly image that
He's
who
father.
does.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I trust my son to him. If I'm like, I need a babysitter, I'd give him to Mr. Kennedy any day.
I would too. I mean, there's not a lot of people I'd say that about. I would trust him with just about anything.
Yeah, wouldn't give him to Biden. Nope.
No. I mean, be me. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. This is a clip from an interview he did with Smerconish on CNN back a while ago. And so one of the things we were looking at too was the clips that were coming out this week in advance of the historic announcement. Mr. Kennedy's a lawyer. Maybe he's laying a little groundwork for a case he's going to be making. So we were kind of trying to read the tea leaves on this. So I'll kind of throw that out there as you watch this.
I watched your announcement speech from Boston, all 2 hours of it. At about the 48 or 49-minute mark, you said,
This is what happens when you censor somebody for 18 years.
who censored you and why?
Most recently, and I think most offensively, the White House was asking the social media sites to censor me. There were also attorney generals, I think 13 Democratic attorney generals, who contacted the social media sites and asked them specifically to censor me. But, we now have, because of the Twitter files and because of these email dumps, we now have clear evidence that there were White House personnel who were ordering the social media companies to censor me, and it had nothing to do with misinformation. It was because I was dissenting from government policies. And, we built this country to allow our citizens to complain about our public officials. If you like this video and you want to help me become president of the United States, go to Kennedy24.com and donate now.
So there's the little piece that came out on censorship and how Mr. Biden specifically. And, that was actually another comment that I wanted to make, too, is that, there's been some other, stuff that's come out where, he hasn't really directly addressed Mr. Biden, but he does come close to calling him, his administration corrupt. And so I think, the gloves, he's laying the groundwork, right, for a case that he might be making on Monday about, the kind of corruption that he's up against with this party. What do you guys think?
I think on top of the censorship, the way that Kennedy is covered is just the word conspiracy theorist just, cancels him. I mean, it's cancel culture, I guess. But I was reading an article today. It was that CBS article. It was talking about the speculation that he'll run independent. And they called his, the way he calls out the Democratic Party for being unjust as they call it a conspiracy theory. And they call his, stating that he's been censored a conspiracy theory. And it's just, I don't know, it's canceling him, and it's another form of censorship. So
Targeted propaganda, that he's referred to it as, to try to minimize his message by just,
I don't know how he doesn't lose his cool, because that would be so frustrating.
Yeah, no, he's got patience of the saint. He's because you watch him in some of these interviews, and the people that are coming at him are just, complete, they're not people you would like in real life very well, and they're just smiling at him as they're trying to catch him so that they could advance their career, and he just doesn't get caught. He just, of course, he's a lawyer. He's pretty smart.
Well, I remember when I was supporting Marianne Williamson in her presidential run, and it was interesting because we got a lot of insight into the DNC and the Democratic Party in their various ways. And Marianne Williamson was really, she was coining it as really narcissistic behavior that was coming from media. She was also being censored. The big corporations and everything. But I really, if you think about what a narcissist does, they make you believe that what you're saying is untrue. They ghost you. There's so many different psychological tactics that they will use against you to diminish you, to make you feel like you're stupid, you don't know anything. And then again, kind of cozy up to you, make you feel important, and then tear you down again. As this psychological warfare against our sanity and the clarity of thought. It's the opposite of what journalism is supposed to be. And we know this, yet we're still looking at mainstream media and dissecting what they're saying as if it mattered. Honestly, as if it mattered. I mean, we're having a hard time as it is with social media. When you look at mainstream media, the news channels, CNBC, MSNBC, and CNN, it's like, why is anybody still watching that? Haven't we learned enough? How come people are still watching it? I go to the gym and I see CNN on the screen. I want to take one of those weights and throw it at the screen. Are you kidding me? This is.
I think most of their view have to be gyms and airports.
Probably.
Yeah, nobody's actually
Maybe the
watching.
doctor's offices. I don't know.
It's just a mill. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, there's a, not internet savvy people that are still very tied into cable television yet. So that's still an effective, it's a kind of dying industry, but it's still effective, and so they use it quite extensively yet. I don't know. It's be interesting to see, how that evolves. Mr. Kennedy supports the reinstating something like the fairness doctrine. That I support that. I think, something to that extent, maybe even better than the version that we had previously. Having some fairness in media, and then having some, insulation for actual news teams again, so that they can just report the news. There was some great news back then. I mean, it was boring. It was dry. It didn't have the flashiness but it was good news. You could check, you could check in at night and you go, oh, okay, I kind of know what's going on in the world. And the journalists were good at, they tell you what was going on. They give you both sides so you can kind of make your own reasoned decision. You don't get that anymore. You only get the one side that gets the clicks or whatever they're.
Hollywood has hijacked journalism, in my opinion. I remember I commuted a lot between Germany and the U.S. since 2015. And I remember watching TV and news in the U.S. when I came over from Germany and thinking, God, I feel like I'm watching Penthouse. Seriously, it's like everybody in these glittery high heels, and you have transparent tables so you can see the sexy mini skirt with the brown, like tan legs. I'm like, what does this have to do with journalism? This is insane. This is just totally distracting. I can't even really focus on what's being said. And then the commercial aspect of everything. I think there's so much we just need to really understand as Americans in regards to culture, bringing back culture into, and what does that even mean? How do we define that as a country that is unique in the world? We can't go, it's not the same thing as it would be in Germany or Italy or France or Portugal or Mexico or Canada. It is unique. America is a country that really needs to self-define. But we're so lucky to have Bobby running. Like, he's really somebody to stick with and say, oh wow, that's somebody who is he's walking his truth. He's walking his talk.
Well, the courage, the amazing amount of courage for him, to stand up and do this for our country. I'm just awed by, after the sacrifices his family's made for us already. I mean, his uncle going back to World War II. I mean, he was a hero then, So anyway, I'm a fan of the Kennedys. So let's move on to the next to see where we are. Okay, so we've got another topic. We'll see how we are on time. Another topic here. This is something else that came out this week, and I think it's an important issue. So, and I'll talk about it in a second. But this was, the housing affordability plan that he has. Let's take a listen to this.
But housing is probably the most important issue in terms of building wealth in poor communities. If you have a house, you can get a loan and you can build a business. If you don't have a house, you have no access to capital. 2 years ago, the average cost of a house in this country was $215,000. Today, it's $400,000. Why did the price of housing go up? Well, one, because of the inflation, because we spent $8 trillion on wars and $16 trillion on COVID, which we didn't have. So they print money, which caused the price of everything to go up. More importantly, there's 3 giant corporations: BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. They also own 89% of the S&P 500. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. If they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. You all probably have heard of people who are about to buy a home and somebody comes in at the last minute with a cash offer and snatches it out of the market. Right. And it's usually an LLC with an ambiguous name. But if you trace that up, you'll find it's owned by BlackRock. And because they have a huge bank book, the cost of money and interest in them is tiny, which means they can outcompete your children. Well, your kids do not have a chance to buy that home because they can't outcompete BlackRock. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. One thing, I'm going to try to change the tax code to make it unprofitable for those companies to compete against your children for housing. Number 2, I'm going to make a mortgage available to to Americans at 3% interest. And I'm going to do that without raising the debt. And the way I'm going to do it, if you have a rich uncle who will co-sign your mortgage, you can get a very cheap mortgage because the bank is basing the interest rates on his credit score rather than yours. Oh, I'm going to give everybody a rich uncle. I'm going to say Uncle Sam is going to co-sign this new class of mortgages and guarantee them at 3%. That will lower the cost of mortgages by $1,000 a month, and it will allow them to outcompete BlackRock. And I'm going to finance those mortgages by selling tax-free bonds on the open market. It won't be financed with federal tax dollars and contribute to this incredible debt that we have. And those will only be available to first-time home buyers who will live in that community, who will work in that community. Starting with teachers, because we need to create housing for teachers to keep the best teachers in our schools. So that's one of the things I'll do. If you like this video and you want to help me become president of the United States, go to Kennedy24.com and donate now. But housing is
All right. So, they did re-release this clip on, what did we lose, Sophia?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What's going on?
I was just trying to take that clip off, the
screen
share off.
Okay. Let's.
Here we are.
There we go. We
Very good.
had a little. There we go. Okay. So, and then do we have anybody else? Okay. Oh, there's Anna. All right. So that was a re-release of the Kennedy, idea for backstopping mortgages, and we've talked about this before. It's a genius idea. I mean, and I wanted to kind of compare this a little bit to Biden's failed student loan forgiveness program. That people are now, and I actually had to carry some student loan debt into retirement, and that's a whole completely different detail. I'm making my payments, but Biden had promised that he was going to forgive student loan, whether you support it or not. I know a lot of libertarians, don't, because it's some people see it as an unfair application, and maybe they are right. At the end of the day, it caused a lot of dissension, and Biden did it in a way that I think was disingenuous, and so that he could be canceled at the his behind the doors assurances to the other side were like, you guys will kill this anyway. So don't worry about it. I just need to get the votes here at the midterms. I'll throw this out there, and then it'll get, the Supreme Court will do away with it. Anyway, so it was a way to kind of play people, right? To play people for votes. Mr. Kennedy's program is actually good for our economy, and it's good for people, and it's fair. We were talking about it, my wife and I were talking about it a little bit earlier, like people who maybe are, it's because a first-time mortgage purchase program. Well, what about the people who already purchased their house? Well, maybe they get an opportunity to refinance through this program too. And the thing is, it's not that expensive, and that's actually the other point I wanted to make is like I was in the VA, or I was a veteran, and I did buy a house using that mortgage-backed program, and it's really nice. I mean, you don't have to come in with anything down. The bank doesn't check, doesn't have to check your credit or anything like that, and boom, you're able to get into a house. And the government really doesn't have a huge amount of exposure with it because they're only insuring like a small portion of the mortgage, just enough so that the bank feels like if you default in the house, they'll get their money back. And so it's really not as much money as you'd think is necessary. Just like a small portion of actually the mortgage price. And so it's not that hard. And then he's got this program where he can sell securities that will be self-funding that'll pay for the whole thing. It's just genius, because then when people own houses, that money stays in the middle class. When you buy houses, that all goes up the stream, to whoever's holding the mortgages, and that's never good. But the people who own those houses, the money that they spend when they're updating the houses, putting the sheetrock up, they're hiring a local guy to come out and fix the plumbing, that's all money that's staying in the economy and it's generating. And then, Mr. Kennedy also points out that people, home ownership really drives people to be more, careful with things in their community, be more committed and more involved. I don't know, kind of went on a long time there. Any comments on that?
No, I was just going to add, there's another aspect where they buy these houses and then turn them into apartment rentals. And you have like out of town landlords who are just profiting, and the homeowner is not, there is no homeowner presence. There's no like pride in taking care of your yard or, keeping your community safe or being a good neighbor. It's all, I don't know. It just really, really changes our society.
Well, I grew up in a kind of a working class neighborhood, kind of, there was a lot of, but, people, took a lot of pride because there was a lot of home ownership. That same neighborhood now is it's all rental, and you can tell there's a little difference. Be better to give those people an opportunity to invest in themselves and, in their community, build a community.
I
That's
think
fair.
I think
Go
it's so ironic that a presidential candidate, potentially is going to become the president, would be saying something like that, because it's almost like the government now has to go trick these big companies like Vanguard and BlackRock. I think when he becomes president, it's about changing certain laws. This is not sustainable. We can't have big corporations going against the people. We need the government to back us up, and that's what he's saying somehow. But that can't be the solution. It's almost like he's saying something to make a point. I feel that can't be the solution, in my opinion, because we need a much bigger and better solution than that, and that's why we really need him as president. Because if we start, setting up a new, like, it's almost like he's showing us where the flaws are in the system. Obviously, not informed enough yet as a society to fully understand that. That's why now he's helping so many people understand what's really going on behind the scenes. But it just can't be. Like, we're talking about, all these big companies are corrupt. They're taking away what belongs to us, what we need to live a sustainable life. And here he is, okay, this is how we can trick the system. This is how I'm going to trick the system. It's like, no, we want you as a leader, and we want everything to be clean and follow the law and have a system that is not going against us. So I think we need a bigger and better solution. But I think it's amazing that he's pointing this out in that way.
Yeah, I think he's a master at pointing those kinds of things out. I think Mr. Kennedy, he's pointing out right now how the corruption of the Democratic Party in a way that people can't ignore.
And taking Uncle Sam as an example is genius.
So we've reached the end of our content for today. So it was a great discussion. Thank you, Anna and Sophia, for joining. I've got a couple of announcements, and I'll let you make a couple. But, we are going to go live stream on Monday. So look for us to pop up in your favorite Facebook group. You'll just see the live announcements. And if you don't catch us, it'll persist in the Facebook group for some time afterwards, like this one will. You'll be able to watch it after the fact. And so, and also our Discord group, again, I'll just give us another plug. Please join us there. We've got some projects coming up with Sophia. We're working on some ways to get Facebook more involved in some of the streaming that we're doing. And so I'll just hand it off to Sophia. Do you got a couple of announcements you'd like to make, Sophia?
Yes, if we're talking about the same thing, the announcement was we started a regular Zoom call with our workforce group on Facebook, which is helping everybody understand how to set themselves up for success. If you're leading a Facebook group and you want to better understand how Facebook works and how to grow your group ethically and efficiently, then that's for you. So I would say, just if you're not in our groups yet, join our groups, contact us, be on the lookout. We're really looking for the people who are engaged with groups or growing groups on Facebook. So this is specifically for Facebook group growth, community care, management, and meeting regularly. And I'm going to start workshops. I just haven't yet because I understand that we're all coming from different places. And so right now it's really it's just understanding, where do we start off together? Where's the biggest need? And I have my opinion where that is, but we all need to kind of come onto the same page and start off together. And so that's why I figured, let's start off with a meet and greet. We just did that on Thursday, and there's going to be a second meet and greet on this coming Thursday, which I think is really important because we're going to have a new situation because of Monday. So if you want an invite for that, contact our moderators and admins in our groups. I'm not putting it out publicly because I just don't want to be attacked on Zoom or anything. There's some nefarious people who want to attack us, and I'm not afraid of that. I don't want people coming in who are not really interested. I just want to, for the sake of, I don't know, boredom. This is really for like you group leaders who are interested in Facebook group. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Sophia, and thank you, Rochelle, and thanks, Anna, for joining us today. Look forward to seeing everyone on Monday, and then we'll be live again next Saturday with our next Set Chat broadcast. Thank you, everyone,
Thanks so much.
and have
Thank
bye-bye.
you.